Each year, hundreds of people go missing in the United States parks and national forests. Most investigations are eventually solved through reasonable causes like foul play, drowning, suicide, or an animal attack. Others aren't quite so easy to dismiss. Many of them are not merely perplexing but outright disturbing. The Missing 411 books take a deeper look into these specific situations, which seem to defy all logic. Author of the series, David Paulides, is a private investigator who served as a Los Angeles police officer for over 20 years. One day he stumbled upon some shocking information from a park ranger. They informed him about a bizarre missing persons cases happening within the national parks. According to this source, these individuals go missing under very unusual circumstances. Law enforcement officials and Park Service management were doing everything in their power to keep these events concealed from the general public. When Paulides attempted to obtain a list of missing people, he hit the first of many roadblocks. He was told that there is no such document because the Department of Interior does not keep any record of missing people within their park systems. To obtain this information would cost him $34,000. A list of missing persons for the entire United States park system would be a staggering $1.4 million. Paulides did not oblige and instead filed hundreds of Freedom Information Acts. Some were accepted and others were denied for unknown reasons. This is a map of the cave systems in the US. Now here's a map of the unexplained missing people. Now let's compare. See any connection? As the investigation progressed, the more mysterious it became. One of the first things that was discovered were the presence of clusters throughout the country. These locations are hotspots where individuals disappear at surprisingly high numbers. Concentrated areas are present in many states including California, Colorado, Washington, Georgia, Michigan, and Arkansas. After meticulously researching thousands of cases, odd similarities and patterns emerged. Certain baffling parallels were seen repeatedly despite the incidents transpiring thousands of miles from each other. Some of the common links are difficult to rationalize and not easily dismissed. These perplexing characteristics leave far more questions than answers. Search dogs behave strangely. Oftentimes, these canines cannot pick up a scent. In other instances, they begin tracking only to lay down and stop searching, as if the person has vanished into thin air. In many instances, the missing appears in a location that has been thoroughly searched dozens of times, if not hundreds. In these cases, it's not uncommon for the deceased to surface on a main trail that is utilized by hikers on a daily basis. The missing is often found at high levels of elevation, such as mountain peaks. Frequently, the victim will travel an astounding amount of miles through treacherous terrain in a time period which seems humanly impossible. Weather-related phenomenon. Shortly after the individual goes missing, the forecast takes a drastic turn. Torrential rain, lightning, fog, sandstorms, or blizzards occur which delay search parties. Missing clothing. Shoes, pants, shirts, and jackets are often removed, even by children who are too young to do so themselves. Paradoxical undressing cannot explain why a person would do this in a temperate environment. Clothing that is found is sometimes even neatly folded. High amounts of plane crashes. Search planes and helicopters seem to crash at abnormally high rates during these specific cases. Extreme ends of the intellectual scale. On one side, there are well-educated people such as doctors, psychiatrists, and physicists. Others have disabilities such as autism or Down syndrome. Boulder fields and granite. A high number of men and women vanish in boulder fields or areas with huge quantities of granite. Another common factor is the presence of water. Bodies of water are often discovered near oceans, lakes, rivers, streams, or swamps. Berry picking. Strangely, this is a reoccurring theme shared amongst several cases. Those who are picking berries seem to go missing at higher rates. Prior to disappearances, friends and family state the victim has informed them that they were not feeling well or tired. One of the most recurrent of all traits are those in a group who happen to be the last in line. Others who were with the missing report seeing them mere seconds before and suddenly they had vanished without a trace. No one ever reports hearing any sound such as a gasp, scream, or an animal. However, one piece of evidence still exists. A voicemail that was left by one of the missing. The sounds are haunting, and I'm sure even more so for the family that had to endure the loss of a loved one and still have no answers. A warning, this may sound disturbing to some listeners. The NPS employs over 20,000 Americans and brings in an annual revenue of $92 billion. If patrons knew what was really happening within the park systems, it could have a devastating financial consequence. No one knows who or what is responsible for these incidents. Politis is simply presenting facts. Theories range from Bigfoot, werewolves, alien abductions, and secret underground government bases and portals. If going into the wilderness, I highly suggest that everyone buy a global satellite tracking device. Your adventures can take you beyond cell service, and these devices let friends and family know you're okay or sends emergency responders your GPS location at the push of a button. They go for around $150, but that's a small price to pay when it comes to saving your life. Whatever the source may be for these people going missing, it's probably best to avoid being last in line or go berry picking alone the next time you visit a national park. And if you feel unwell, be sure to have someone escort you back to camp. Going solo can seem brave and adventurous, but be careful, because it may be the last thing you do. Stay safe, everyone, and remember to always notice your surroundings.